All right, good morning, North Texas. We've got a lot to talk about today. A chance for maybe a couple strong to severe storms, and widespread rainfall looks to be on the way. So when you take a look at this, for those who may not be a fan of summer heat, you may look at this and go, well, that looks like a pretty good afternoon. The problem is it's got some cloud coverage and some rain activity along with it. So generally speaking today, I think the overall high today is going to be anywhere between 84 to 87 degrees, as the metro looks to be primarily into the mid 80s across the region. Now, that's not to say that some areas may get close to the upper 80s, but it's looking like it's not going to be the most intense heat we've seen recently, and that's going to be thanks to some of those overcast conditions and the rain that we've got today. Here's a look at what we got in the metro, anywhere from 85 to 86 degrees area wide. So if you've got any sort of plans today, it may look a little bit better with temperatures, but we've got the rain chances to let you know about. So that's a look at what we've got there. Rain chances today into the high to expected category, pretty much area wide. And it's one of those things where it's not going to be a wall of rain for every county during every hour of the day. There's going to be a couple waves that move through, and we'll show you here with Future Scan in just a second. Zooming into the metro, you can see still into the high to expected range with the rainfall, and it makes sense. We've got activity on the way. We'll have maybe one or two rounds throughout the morning into the midday, and then another round that arrives by this evening. Some of those could be even strong to severe. Now, in terms of the rain activity with totals, some areas that see some training activity. What I mean by that is think of when a train goes by, the carts just keep coming over and over and over. They're on the same track. That's kind of the same thing. You may get one or two of these towns that see some rain activity that just continues. And it's not one storm that just sits over it. It's just numerous areas of activity that just keep pushing through. And then you get some higher totals as high as maybe 3 to 4 inches. Now, not everyone's going to see that much rainfall today. I think area wide, generally speaking, between 1 to 2 inches of rainfall looks possible, but there could be some locally higher amounts of 3 to 4 inches possible with some of that activity. Zooming into the metro, generally speaking, again, 1 to 3 inches seems to be a fair estimate based off of the rainfall that we're expecting for today. So keep an eye on it. If you're going to be out and about, avoid any sort of roads that are dealing with some flooding issues. So we're not expecting widespread flooding rains, but there could easily be some low-lying areas with poor drainage, flood-prone areas that could start to see some ponding on the roadways. So just take it easy, avoid any flooding if you come across it. Here's a look at what we got with the severe weather risk for today. And we're not talking tornado risk. So if you have severe weather anxiety or anything like that, we're not talking, it's certainly not going to be any sort of outbreak or major severe weather setup. We're not talking that. What we are talking is kind of like what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, where you're going to have scattered activity off and on throughout the day. And then occasionally you get some of those that may produce some winds up to 60 to 65 miles an hour, and maybe some hail as much as or as large as quarter to $50 sized. That's going to be kind of the case today. Not everyone's going to see storms. I think with that round that comes later this evening, that's where we're going to talk about maybe a little bit better potential for some of that gusty wind threats and maybe some hail. But in the early portion of the day, there still could be some activity that gets a little bit to the stronger side. Overall, though, the risk today is low, so we're not talking, medium or high-end risks, but still we'll respect that. So probably not the best day to be out at the lake today. So here's a look at Future Scan, and we moved the time banner here so you can see it a little bit better. Activity will continue throughout the late morning. As you can see, this is close to 11 in the morning. As we make our way into the afternoon, more activity continues, and you can see training activity to the north and east, where some of those totals were looking a little bit higher. This evening, close to 6 to 9 o'clock, that's when we could see more rounds move in, and this could be severe in some spots. So we'll have to watch that this evening. Otherwise, more rain activity continues into early Sunday morning and then continues into midday Sunday as well. So we'll have to keep an eye on the activity both today and tomorrow, and we'll let you know more about that throughout the weekend. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast. Summer heat's back on the way, and I mentioned it yesterday. I think there's a chance that by the time we get to maybe midweek, there is the potential for some heat advisories to be issued, just because I think we're going to see a mixture of high humidity and those warmer temperatures. Now, I can't say for certain, but It's starting to get to that point in the year where summer temperatures are a common thing. That's not unheard of. We're in June already. But if you're headed out to the pool the next several days, or once we get through these rain and storm chances, not the best days today and tomorrow, but next week, if you're headed out to the pool, unfortunately for any sort of summer fans, it's not going to be that dry heat that's a little bit more tolerable or manageable for most of us. It's going to be high humidity mixed in. So you're going to want to take breaks in the shade, in the AC, stay hydrated. And for pet owners, don't walk your dogs in the afternoon. It's going to be a little too hot for their feet. Rule of thumb, later in the evening, earlier in the morning, that's the best times to be walking the pets. And don't leave your pets or children alone in unattended vehicles. It's going to be dangerous as we head to next week. So in terms of those temperatures, that's a look at what we got there. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic day. Bring the rain gear with you. You might need it. We're going to be tracking this activity throughout the day. So keep it with Weather 225 here throughout the weekend. If you like our media and forecast, be sure to support us today on Patreon. You can advertise with us this storm season and throughout the year. Contact us today for availability and pricing. Weather 225 since 2015.